Hey everybody, welcome to Dreamseed VR. I'm your host Sarah Finn, and today we're going to go ahead and explore some of the metaphors of dark science fiction. In particular, we're going to explore the metaphor of the Black Mirror. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, Black Mirror is a science fiction series that was created by Charlie Brooker, and it debuted in 2015 in the UK with its pilot episode, The National Anthem. So far, the series has spanned 5 seasons and it's won 8 Emmy Awards, including episodes San Junipero as well as the USS Callister, and Bandersnatch, which was an interactive episode, a choose your own adventure style plot, which was at the time very revolutionary in the industry. I personally hated it. Black Mirror is acclaimed for its high conceptual science fiction and its exploration of social themes and the philosophical implications of the various future technologies they talk about in the show. It's known for its hard-hitting and disturbing gritty treatment of those themes. So while many episodes have a softer tone to them, like San Junipero, overall the show is really dark and challenging most of the time. It's sort of like a modern Twilight Zone on PCP. So as stated on IMDb, Black Mirror is a reference to the effect of a television or a computer screen when it's switched off, giving a dark reflection of the onlookers. So today's episode isn't necessarily about recounting various episodes as much as it is an analysis of the statement and to reflect, yes, that's a pun, on the meaning of that visual metaphor and how it relates to the ancient practice of scrying. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with scrying, it's a practice of looking into a suitable medium, oftentimes a reflective surface, to peer into the unconscious, to procure visions, and to divinate. So I have for you here today a little example of a scrying mirror. This is an obsidian scrying mirror. It's really beautiful. So it's like natural glass, and it works superbly as a way to sort of like gaze into the mind's eye without closing your eyes potentially. This is, like I said, exceptionally beautiful. And I also have another example in the form of a black marble scrying bowl. And I'll go ahead and explain a little bit more how this is used in a bit. So mediums commonly used in scrying are reflective and translucent surfaces, such as crystals, stones, and glass. They can be used in various shapes, such as crystal balls, mirrors, water surfaces, as you saw with the bowl, as well as elemental things like fire or smoke. There's not really any limitation on the preferences of the scryer. Some people like to stare into pitch dark. Some people like to look into the clouds or shadows and ponds. Glowing coals or shimmering mirages. Coals are especially cool. I can't recommend that enough with psychedelics. Very cool. And some people stare at the insides of their own eyelids. I can also recommend that. It's pretty good. So in a way, this practice is sort of related to tea reading, which is just like it sounds. You would look into the bottom of your teacup and look at the sediment of the tea leaves, sort of the same way that you would look at clouds and see if any kind of images present themselves via pareidolia or something along those lines. And so, in a way, scrying is related to catoptromancy. I never say that right, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and put the word in the description. Catoptromancy, as well as hydromancy, which is the use of mirrors and water in such divinations, and in particular black mirrors and black scrying hydromancy bowls. So let's see, before we go further into that, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about a myth that is adjacently related to the Black Mirror, and that is the Greek myth of Narcissus. So Narcissus was a hunter who was known for his beauty, and he rejected all of his romantic advances. Eventually, he fell in love with his own reflection in a pool of water and ended up staring at it for the remainder of his life. And after he died, in his place sprouted a flower that became known as the Narcissus flower. So tying these things together is the reflection of our modern day devices, our phones themselves being black mirrors. And they're both reflective surfaces of the scryer's mirror, but also the reflective waters of Narcissus, where he drowned. Our vanity, our ego, all of these things that we project onto the surface of our phones through social media and the ways we interact with the internet and digital culture at large. So Black Mirror explores themes that are horrifyingly close to what's already possible today, with applications that are just a few political justifications away. The degree to which it's disturbing is directly proportional to the degree of which those proposed plots are likely to take place in the next 5 to 10 years. So what looks like on the surface a metaphor is much more like a literal statement on the function of what the series is. Black Mirror in and of itself is a black mirror, and the abyss gazes back at us and shows us what the future is. So as a fun sort of bonus content to today's episode, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the techniques with scrying that I explored earlier on in my life as a weirdo psychedelic visionary artist. There was a phase with my art where I was totally obsessed with playing with mirrors and reflections and smoke and water. And there was, over the course of about a year, where I etched a series of mirrors in different shapes, hexagons and octagons. And in particular, there was an octagonal mirror that became the centerpiece of all the exploration I was doing. And I had etched this really beautiful octagonal lattice on the mirror, which I'll show a picture of. And the cool coincidence that happened was that I came across a little laser pen that had a star field cap that would scatter the light in a 4x4 pattern. And as you spun this cap, it would splay the laser light in a pattern that would line up with this etched octagonal lattice that I had put on the mirror. So when you shone the laser pen at the mirror, it would reflect onto the ceiling a beautiful star field, but there would also be a negative space of the octagonal lattice. So it was almost like a cool star chart map or some kind of like heads-up display cosmic spaceship thingy on the ceiling. It was really special. So I realized that these techniques that I was layering on one another kind of created something that I came to call hyperscrying, which just means taking several different forms of scrying and combining them into, one powerful technique. So I also took this same mirror at one point and I submerged it in water. And I also used various colored lights throughout the room to reflect on this same pool of water with the mirror submerged in it. So here I have a mirror that's etched with the hydromancy going on and a number of other lights. And then I also lined the room with mylar blankets, which, for those of you who don't know, they are those kind of space blankets that are silver and crumpled up. And they create really beautiful fractals and reflections when they've been scrunched. So I basically created this like fractal crumply mirror surface throughout the room surrounding me with my cool bowl and my water and my mirror. And I also put that apparatus on top of what you would call a lazy Susan, which is a small little platform, like a little wooden platform that spins. A lot of times people will put their spices or their medications on it so they can just turn it and, access their different things on a dial. It's just like a little turntable. So putting this on the turntable gave me the ability to smoothly rotate the reflection in the water and to create sort of like a vortex. And all of those things combined added up to something that I began calling for myself a water door. And it's kind of like a portal. And the final ingredient to this weird adventure I put together was to have a threshold toke of DMT. And the occasion was pretty serendipitous. I happened to be dressed up as a clown that night for a gig I had been doing previously in the evening for GDC. the Game Developers Conference, because that's cool. I gotta name drop that. So after I'd come home from this gig dressed up as a cute clown, I decided to initiate this little experiment. And the synchronicity behind that is that I actually started exploring clowning as a result of my early Deems trips, where the machine elves presented themselves as playful jesters and acrobats and jeweled clown-like beings. And for me, on a personal level, it was really significant because I had had a childhood fear of clowns as a result of Tim Curry's amazing performance in Stephen King's It, that miniseries, I believe from the 90s. Really scarred me. So for the longest time, I was really afraid of clowns, but my visionary experiences with Deems not only healed that sort of archetypal fear, but invited me to sort of embrace clowning as a way to channel that archetype and kind of become a DMT elf ambassador. So for me to dress up as a clown and then enter this space was really special, because that water door and those reflective surfaces became a ground for which the machine elves could project themselves onto it. Like in the same sense that I'm describing this process of scrying, these entities were able to sort of use it like a television and tune into the fractal and reflective channel and just like splay themselves all over those surfaces. And it was as if they had come into my space as opposed to me blasting off and going out into their outer space, their other dimensional space. So yeah, that was the culmination of a lot of different weird art experiments and light play, reflective play, lasers, mirrors, smoke, all that cool stuff. And it wasn't until recently that I realized that it constitutes what you would call hyperscrying, so the combination of several scrying techniques. So that was a fun little detour. That was your bonus personal content after listening to my fun rant about the nature of Black Mirror as metaphor. So let's see, for those of you who are curious about obtaining your own cool scrying materials, I found these pieces on Etsy. These are my two favorite. I love the obsidian mirror, and I also love the black marble bowl. In particular, the black marble bowl is awesome because you can put just a little bit of fluid in it and then put some other kind of substance. I like to use herbs or, maybe like gemstone sand, something like that. So it'll break up the surface of the water tension with different shapes. And then as you stare into the light that reflects on that moving surface, you can get a lot of really cool pareidolia and sort of just let your imagination pull the visions through those different shapes and reflective qualities. So there you have it. That is my cute little rant about the Black Mirror and scrying and hyperscrying. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for some other weird episodes about content that kind of bridges the gap between the mystical and the occult and the psychedelic, as well as science fiction and virtual reality stuff. You can find my Patreon at patreon.com/Seraphin. You can find our website at dreamseedvr.com. And yeah, I recommend you check out the beginning of our interview series. We have some additional interviews that are going to be dropping in the next few weeks. And thank you for your ears and eyeballs. And I will catch up with you next time. Bye for now.